Let's talk about kind of the ascent of EVs, how they've become a much more, not only legitimate, but they're much more in the conversation now about how it could upend, I guess, the traditional structure of the energy industry. I'm wondering, A, do you see that happening, and do you see it happening soon?
Well, I see it happening over time. I see it, if we can put it this way, accelerating. If you think about it, when the Tesla Roadster appeared on the road in 2008, it was a novelty. Today, General Motors says that after 2035, its aspiration is not to build any gasoline cars. And if you look at President Biden's infrastructure plan, 50% more money goes to electric cars promotion than it does to roads, bridges, highways, and ports. So that tells you there's a lot of momentum there. Britain says not going to sell gasoline cars after 2030 probably. So you have this whole weight of public policy there. So it's one of the key factors that's changing the nature of the automobile industry and how we relate to our cars.
Of course, Dan, you're such an authority, not only when it comes to energy, economics, but also international politics. And I'm interested in the political realm of this, because you've really been thinking about the relationship of US and China. Is there a battle going on here to win EV?
Well, I think so. If you looked in the Biden infrastructure plan, it says that the aim is to win the EV market. And all you have to do is put a parenthesis against China. Almost half the world's 44% of the electric cars in the world are in China today. And China has been really pushing electric cars for strategic reasons, for commercial reasons, as well as for environmental reasons. And key question is batteries, because the world is so dependent upon China for lithium-ion batteries. So I think in the future, we may be talking more about battery security rather than energy security.
I would like you to expand on that, because we've heard from multiple analysts that the chip shortage is a big deal, but the future of the big deal is a battery shortage on the horizon. Talk to us more about what you see in the future of batteries.
Well, I think it is a question. I mean, the EU has come out with it. The Biden plan has support to build battery factories in the US. You see that they're being built there. So I think that really ties into the whole focus around supply chains and dependence. And, you know, with the new Biden administration, they've been much more explicit about it. And if you look at, you know, where we are this year so far, just less than 3% of the cars sold around the world are EVs. But if you look at the numbers people are anticipating, you're going to need big new supply chains and need them relatively fast.
Do you think we can get there solely through private investment, private enterprise?
Well, I think we're going to certainly see this federal, you know, $174 billion from the federal government in infrastructure to support it. And of course, I see EVs tied into the other two developments that I talk about, both in my recent article, but in the new map, is of course ride hailing. You're going to be talking, I think, about Uber in a little bit, and also the really big thing is autonomous self-driving cars. And if you put those three things together, you start to have a different kind of automobile industry than we've had since Henry Ford's Model T. And I'll just give you one example. Volkswagen now describes itself as a software-driven mobility provider, not as an automobile company. That's how the world's changing.
The world's changing. Is regulation keeping up quickly enough? When I think of autonomous vehicles, I think of Lyft getting out of that game. I think of the pressure that it needs regulatory changes at the same time as you innovate from a private capital kind of perspective. Yeah. How do you see that, Dan?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. From the regulatory point of view, that's the most difficult one, is who's responsible if something happens with a car? Is it the person sitting in it? Is it the person, you know, who designed the software, who designed the hardware? So I know there's a lot of effort going on in the United States, both at the federal and the state level, to kind of create a regulatory system for all autonomous cars. And I think there's pressure to do that, partly because it's seen if you have every car is autonomous, hard to believe right now, that would actually increase safety. But I think that what people, you know, electric cars are moving ahead. Of course, ride hailing's already here and is coming back. I think the toughest problem is autonomous cars. And one hears from people working on it, it's that last 1% that's the most difficult part to get to. And so I think the kind of enthusiasm of 2 or 3 years ago is now, it seems, it's pushed out in terms of getting there.
Nothing like a healthy